I finally got my credentials to test Manus AI. So I created an account and logged in, and I started testing it. I am traveling actually. I'm heading to Paris to attend the AWS Summit there. And I couldn't wait actually to test it out. So what I've done is basically to launch a query for Manus. So here's the prompt that I gave to Manus, and that was actually 11:15 a.m. So design and build a complete solution aimed at providing a virtual coach for college students, etc., etc. I'm not going through the whole prompt, but basically you understood the concept. It's basically creating an app, create the backend, and the idea is that the app is going to help students getting more organized, getting a coach, getting with their modules and their assignments. So actually, Manus took that prompt and started working on it. So this also happened pretty much at the same time, 11:15, and then it started executing that. In the meanwhile, I closed my laptop, I put it in my bag, I took the airplane, and now I am in Boston. I have a transit there. I have a couple of hours, and I couldn't prevent myself from opening Manus and checking what happened there. And so actually Manus created the plan and started executing it. So it was really fantastic to see how it actually executed the whole thing. You can see how Manus was basically establishing a plan, giving the chain of thoughts, and then dividing the project into pieces and modules. So it started with the app, and then it went to the back end. Really pretty good job, actually. And all of that, so at the end of it, Manus actually took approximately 16 minutes. So this is when Manus actually completed the task. And as you can see somewhere here, we can see when that happened. So 11:31. Right? So the prompt was input at 11:15, 11:31. Manus completed the whole thing. As you can see, there's documentation, there's the process, there's the commands that you need to run from the terminal so that you can test your solution. So really pretty powerful. This is not vibe coding, and it's important to understand that. With vibe coding, you have an LLM, like for example in Cursor AI, you have an LLM, you can put your knowledge base there, and then you can ask questions, you can select pieces of code, you can say, review this code, change this code in a way that it does this and that. So you can do all of that, and it's very powerful. Here, this is different. This is similar to having an engineer who is ready to get a small prompt, a small description of a project, and work it out completely until it gets at least a prototype. I don't think this is really actually a complete project. I think we need at least a few iterations to get there. But nevertheless, it went through the code and it did the project. I can show also, for example, here, as you click here, this is basically the different command lines that Manus executes. And so what Manus does is basically to create a virtual machine. It's Ubuntu virtual machine, and it runs everything within it. So it creates your code, it pushes the structure, creates the directory, etc., etc. So it's very similar to an engineer, and you give that engineer, here's your new virtual machine, go ahead and create that project. So pretty powerful. Once the project is finished, you have access to that virtual machine either via a browser or via a Visual Studio application. So if you go to the browser, for example, earlier I pointed the browser directly to the app. So here's the app actually. As you can see, local host 8000 public. And basically you have the app. All of this was built actually by Manus. And then you have also access, so I can exit here, and you have access to Visual Code, which will take you to this tab. Okay, and so in this tab, basically you have a VSC instance where you have access to the code. So you can, for example, open a backend, check the source code, check the app.ai, app.py, and you can look at how the app is working, for example. So pretty powerful. I think these are just examples of what Manus does. So I need to check whether in the backend, whether the backend is actually invoking LLMs and whether it's leveraging LLMs to perform this app. It doesn't seem so, but this is something that I will definitely do probably during my flight, my second leg of flight from Boston to Paris. I'm super excited with all of this because it gives us like a different dimension. As you know, if you are using Cursor AI or some other LLMs, basically you are vibe coding, which is basically you are interacting with the code and having suggestions and maybe creating some modules or some functions. Here, it's like really complete delegation. So it's a complete different approach. I think this approach is much more powerful. I'm not saying it's better, but I think it's much more powerful in capability. And I think this is probably the approach where the other LM providers like Anthropic and OpenAI will also be going into this direction. So all in all, very positive experience. I think in terms of the rendering and in terms of the capabilities, it's not yet there. So I think it seems like the process is that you start with a delegation of a task. Then once the task is completed, you can then continue with vibe coding so that you get your project to the final stages of getting a real application that you can publish to the public. Uh, again, great stuff from Manus AI. I think what they did is really very powerful. Um, I don't think it's something powerful in terms of AI, but it is something that is very powerful in terms of providing the tools and the capabilities to the AI, and that's a little bit different. So let me know what you think in the comments. I'd be happy to engage and have further discussions and also see your experiences with Manus AI, how they went so far.